Hi guys, it's Rebecca. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. Today's video is going to be my November reading wrap up. I am late into filming this, but it's just been kind of crazy. So I did manage to read 8 books. Not bad at all by any means compared to the average reader in America. But you guys know I usually read about 10 or plus books a month because I incorporate a lot of audiobooks, and now that I'm training for my marathon, I'm doing a lot of audiobooks, and I listen to the audiobooks at twice the speed. So an 8-hour book will take me 4 hours. That's one long run for me. So so sometimes I can finish one audiobook in the time that it takes me to go out for a run on one day. So anyway, I have 8 books here, like I said, and in no particular order, I'm just gonna get started. The first book that I have here is The Story Life of J Vickery by Gabrielle Seven. In this book, we follow our main character, whose name is J Vickery. He is the owner of a bookstore who is kind of a loner, kind of bitter, angry man. He is a widowed, and he just doesn't like people. He doesn't like change. He's very set in his ways. He's not interested in becoming part of any kind of family, his own family, or, you know, your family, friends, anything like that. Until one day he finds a package that someone dropped off at his bookstore, and he decides to keep the package, and his life changes forever. So we follow AJ throughout his whole life, from, I guess, middle adulthood to when he's an older adult. Takes a span over maybe 10 years that we find this, maybe even more, 10-15 years maybe. And so it's a very character driven plot, but I really enjoyed it. I had heard a lot of hype about this book many years ago. It was talked about quite a bit around in booktube, and I didn't really know what I was expecting. I had read the blurb on the back, but it wasn't really kind of grabbing me. It was nothing what I expected, and it kept me intrigued the whole time. It was a wonderful surprise. Highly recommend. I think I give this 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I have Love the One You're With by Emily Giffin. I love Emily Giffin's books. Her books always have kind of like a questionable moral dilemma. In this book, we follow our main character, Ellen, who is married to Andy. They have what seems to be like the perfect marriage. They've been together for like 10 years. Suddenly, an old flame from Ellen comes back into her life. She was super in love with this guy, and all of a sudden he just disappeared. He never called her again. He just disappeared from the face of the earth, and she was obviously distraught and heartbroken. And then eventually, she was already friends with Andy. Yeah, with Andy. Eventually that friendship developed into a romantic relationship, and they got married. But now that her old, love of her life is back, she begins to question like these feelings that are resurfacing that she had for her previous boyfriend, and how her life is going with Andy, because at the same time that she discovers Leo, her old boyfriend, Andy wants to start a family and move back to the South where he's from. Currently they're in New York City, so he kind of wants to settle down and start a family. So now she has to question like do I stay with Andy where it's safe, or do I explore these feelings that are coming back for Leo, because Leo it has come back declaring his love for me. So very, very tense, and I enjoyed it. My favorite book, one of my favorite movies, Something Borrowed, is based on the book Something Borrowed by Emily Giffin, and I loved it. Like I said, our main characters can be maybe unlikable because of some of the choices that they make, but you can kind of see where they're coming from. At least I can. Maybe I'm just justifying their actions, but I really enjoyed this book. I do recommend if you're into, like, it's chick lit, but it's not romance. It's just a really nice piece of fiction. I loved it. A book that I didn't love quite so much is The Right Swipe by Alicia Rai. In this book, we follow our main character, Rhiannon, who is running a dating app, and she's looking into buying this other dating app, just to kind of like strengthen the empire of her current app. And so she hires, I guess, like a company who is willing to mediate the I guess, courting of one company to buy the other company. And this company that is mediating the purchase of these two companies, between these two companies, happens to be a guy that ghosted her, a guy that she met on a dating app, and he ghosted her. So of course she's very angry and bitter at him. He's kind of like, oh man, this is awkward because I realized things didn't end very well. And so it's funny to see the banter of where they're pretending to date and to have this relationship in order for her to buy the company that he's helping her buy, you know? So it kind of got cheesy at times when it's revealed the reason of why he ghosted her. I felt like it was like the easy, predictable way out. So that's why at first I was really like, it was interesting because it was funny to see how, you know, she couldn't stand him. He knew that she couldn't stand him, but he was trying to be, you know, polite because, you know, he's working for this company. And when it's revealed that, you know, he left her for this particular reason, it just felt like I said, like a safe choice. And it kind of took away from the story to me. So for that reason, I think I only gave it 3 stars. I do have the other 3 books in the series. I don't know how many more there are going to be, but there's at least 3. And so I'll obviously be moving on, but this one was just okay. Then I have Lovin Olives by Jenna Evans Welch. This is the 3rd book in the series, Love and Gelato. The first one is set in Italy. The second one is set in Ireland. And obviously this one is set in Greece. In this book, we follow our main character, Liv, who lives with her mom. Her dad abandoned them when she was only 8 years old on his quest to go in search for Atlantis. He left and he just never came back. Then suddenly one day, you know, years later, 10 years later, he calls her up and says, hey, come join me in Greece. I'm doing a documentary on finding Atlantis. So upon much hesitation, she goes to Greece, and we kind of, you know, we kind of follow along as they try to rekindle their daughter-father relationship. And there's a cute guy that she falls in love with. And it also touches on mental health, which I wasn't expecting this to have that. I really enjoyed it. I think this is probably my second favorite book. I think the first one was Lovin Olives. This one will be my second one, and then Love and Luck was my least favorite. So highly recommend these books from Jenna Evans Welch. I don't know if she's gonna come back with more in the series, but it's a fun series. Then I have book 13 of Linda Castillo's Kate Burkholder series, and this one is called The Hidden One. This one is, like I said, book 13. We follow Kate Burkholder, who is the chief of police of Painter Mills in Ohio, which is kind of surrounded by an Amish community. She used to be Amish, but she left the community. So she is called upon when there's any crimes within the Amish community because she can speak the language, she knows the culture, so on and so forth. So every book we follow a different kind of mystery, and in this one it's no different. We follow Kate, who finds the remains of an old Amish priest. Is that what they're called? Priest? Bishop. And they start investigating his death, and upon investigating the death, we start finding out secrets within the Amish that, you know, we weren't expecting. We find that the person who committed the crime might not have done it. He might have been framed. So love these books from Linda Castillo. They're very small. I was gonna say short and small at the same time. They're very short, around 300 pages, and I love it because she does not fill the books with fluff. Like, you breeze through these books so fast because they're so engaging from chapter 1 up until the end. And like I said, there's no fluff. Everything that she tells you is relevant to the story, and you just like eat it up, and it's so much fun. I don't know how many more she's gonna have from Kate Burkholder, but I hope she continues. I will continue to buy them all. And it's funny, this book I purchased at a used bookstore. I follow this used bookstore on Facebook, and they posted a picture of like new books that we've acquired. And then this one wasn't one of those photos. And as soon as I left work that day, I was like, I'm gonna stop and buy it, because usually I buy my books on Book Outlet, but I was like, I don't know how long it's gonna be before this book is there. So yeah, anyway, there's a story you guys need to know. Then I finally read The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. This is another book that had a ton of hype on BookTube a while back. And in this book, we follow Tiffy and Leon, who share a flat, hence the flat share. Tiffy has just gotten out of a relationship, and so she doesn't quite want to be alone. She can't afford really to live by herself in an actual apartment, so she starts looking to see what kind of accommodation she can find with a roommate, because she really doesn't want one. So she finds out about this accommodation with this young doctor guy. His name's Leon, and so they arrange a schedule to where he can have the flat during the nights and on the weekends, I believe, and then she has it during the days. So after these arrangements are made, they start communicating, like, you know, kind of like neighborly, trying to be polite with each other, because after all, they do live in the same apartment. And then those notes become a little bit flirty. They eventually become friends, and at some point she's interested in meeting him face to face, but he's kind of avoiding that. He doesn't really want to. He's just nervous about meeting her in person. So it's a cute way of learning, of seeing how their relationship evolves and develops. And it's a cute romantic comedy, but I don't think it deserved all the hype that I got. It wasn't, maybe because it was an interesting concept. I don't think I've ever read a book about two strangers sharing an apartment with a set schedule, but it was a fun book to read. I'm not taking that away from this. Then I have A Slow Fire Burning by Paula Hawkins. In this book, we follow, it's another murder mystery. Paula Hawkins writes murder mystery books. And in this book, we follow, I don't remember the name of the guy, but there's a young guy that is found dead on his houseboat. And upon police investigating the murder, they narrow it down to 3 women who could have possibly have motive and reason to want him dead. And we follow basically the 3 storylines about these 3 women, of who could have done it, of why they have this resentment towards him, and why they would want him dead, and how they could have potentially have done it. So it's, would you say it's a whodunit? I don't know, but it's interesting to see the 3 storylines, because at least with me, I was like, oh, this lady, like Lady A had motive, and then you're like, well, maybe Lady B, and then you're like, well, actually, well, maybe C. So at least for me, it was hard to differentiate, like, who could have really been the one to do it. And at the end, I was kind of shocked. It wasn't a big shocker, but it wasn't who I thought it wasn't who I thought had done it. So it was a fun book. Not her best work. I did rate it 3 out of 5 stars, I think, but I still had fun reading it, so that's what matters. And then last but not least, I finally read You Love Me by Carolyn Kepnes. This is the 3rd book in the You series. I don't know how many books just gonna come out. Maybe this is the last one. But I loved the book You. I became obsessed with the series when it came out. I felt like okay about Hidden Bodies, but I think, is it season 3? Yeah, there's 3 seasons on Netflix of You. The 4th season is set, looks like it's gonna be set in Paris, but this book is set in the Pacific Northwest. So there's 3 Netflix series. This is the 3rd book, but the 4th series is gonna be set in Paris, and this one is in the Pacific Northwest. Anyway, in this book, we follow Joe Goldberg, who has found another lady to become obsessed with. But I feel like in this book, we kind of found Joe being on the other side of being chased. He kind of gets into trouble. He's kind of the one being, at some point, being pursued and creeped on. And I think he gets a little taste of his own medicine. So in this book, I feel like in the other 2 books, Joe was 100% guilty the whole time. But I feel like in this book, he wasn't 100% all that bad. Which is kind of weird to say that I'm justifying Joe's actions of being a psycho. But yeah, it was a fun book. Oh, I read it also super fast. I enjoyed it, and it rekindled my excitement for season 4 of You on Netflix. So that's it, guys. That's all the books. Those are all the books I read in the month of November. I'm already on my 3rd book in December, so we'll see how many I can get through. So that's all I have for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.